Welcome to Neutral Voices. I'm Dr. V, and this is In Depth, where we dig deep in the trenches of what matters. And tonight we have a very special segment. Our topic is farmers, Black farmers, and we have a special guest with us, Mr. Ephraim Smiley. And I would definitely say he knows quite a bit about farming. Welcome.
Welcome.
What's up, Mr. Smiley? How you doing,
Mr.
sir?
Smiley.
Yes. And so we have a few questions for you. But before we get into our questions, I would like for you to give us a very short intro about Ephraim. What do you want people to know about you in this community?
Well, I think what I want them to know is that the Smileys were hard-working people from lower Alabama, and we've learned to take on difficult tasks. We were mechanics, we were farmers, we shot horses, we were blacksmiths, and so we are driven, and we're not easily swayed by confusion or someone saying that. In other words, don't tell a Smiley he can't do it or she can't do it because you're in trouble. If you tell them that they can't do it, anything, then look out.
Look out, because you're getting ready to prove.
Yeah, getting ready to prove
I
that.
love that.
What
I
you
love
said was not true.
That's awesome.
Look out.
So with you opening up with that and saying that, so I think this is true. So Ephraim Smiley, a.k.a. watch this, husband, father, grandpa, uncle, teacher, spiritual advisor, friend, mentor, farmer, and Sagamore winner. I want to know a little bit about this Sagamore winner.
Well, the Sagamore involved a team effort. Anyone that I've encountered who had a association with a garden helped. It was a team effort. People look at me and say, well, man, you're being humble. You're being humble. I truly believe that I wouldn't have gotten the Sagamore Award without people who were ingrained in community gardening. Sandy Payton,
Okay.
Sister Sandy Payton, mother of Come As You Are Church, Renetta Williams. See, Renetta Williams and Sandy Payton are the mothers of community gardening.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I know
they're
both
the
of those
mothers
ladies.
community gardening
All right.
because we started with 2 acres at Reverend Payton's house.
Okay.
And it was a hunger relief garden. And that's where I recognized the beautiful association with green tomatoes. Because one growing season, I had one little red tomato, and all the green ones were gone. And I thought, well, I'm going to eat that tomato. I get one. They had picked them all. They had taken them home to eat them. Some of the people were dependent on the garden because they were paying so much for their medicine that they didn't have money to get fresh vegetables. So
Right.
that's
Wow.
what we did.
Yes.
So one year we grew 300 tomato plants just for green tomatoes.
Just for green
Just
tomatoes.
for green tomatoes. Yeah.
And see, so another thing that I know I've heard you are referred to as the Jolly Green Giant. Would that have anything to do with the fact that you guys give away so much food?
Well,
so
you're
much
good
fresh
at
food?
research. You research the people that come on this channel. Now, I am called the Jolly Green Giant
Yeah.
because long before people were talking organic, I was the organic man.
The original
So I did
organic.
workshops at the conservatory, and I taught people and organic gardening techniques, and I delivered organic materials to people at their homes. So that's why, and I ask anyone to dispute the fact that I am
The original. Yes.
So if I'm new to them, they may look at me in a strange kind of way. And
Yeah.
still I start talking about what I actually did, and then all things change.
All things change.
All things change because I'm a researcher and a reader.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, when V's talking about community, one thing that I noticed, just on Facebook and through knowing people, is that you guys bring a lot of children out. You involve the children, with the gardening, with the planting. Why do you think it's important to involve the youth?
number one, you would be amazed at the amount of work. I believe that we've set some Guinness Book of Records for the planting of tomatoes with children.
Really?
Because you'll get one to make the hole, you'll get one to bring the compost, you'll get one to bring the plant. And it's a beautiful way to teach teamwork. It's a beautiful, and everybody has a job. Even the smallest toddler will have a job of some kind. And so they all, sometimes it can be a field an acre big, and they think, man, how are we going to do this? We take it one step at a time. And we work as a team. And then by working at that team, we can chew up a big task in no time at all.
Right.
But now one year, I made the students garden detectives. And so I taught them the kind of damage certain insects were doing. And so that's the big deal with a garden. You got to know the good guys versus the bad guys.
Yes.
And so I taught them who the bad guys were associated to squash. And we had squash all summer because the children were there telling me, Mr. Smiley, I see those red eggs you're talking about. They're hidden up under the leaf there. I spotted them. And so we'd take them and we'd rub them or we'd stomp them in the ground. And that's therapeutic too. So what we did was we used their eyes to monitor the insects, the bad guys that were coming into the garden. And you guys are all too young to understand what the movie I'm talking about or the TV show, 12 O'Clock High. It was about B-17s flying in World War II. And the kids say, I see one, Mr. Smiley. He's coming in. He's right there. and so it was so funny. But it was a learning experience, and they were having fun, and they knew who. It took some of the mystery out of gardening by understanding what the insects were doing. And so I really, really love teaching people in their backyard that those little yellow butterflies or moths, they're really a moth, that are flying, intend to eat your collards. And they're saying, well, they're eating my collards alive. They're eating my collards alive. You know how to get rid of them?
I was educated by an awesome person named Ephraim Smiley. So I do know now.
You're giving me too much credit.
I know now.
You're giving me too much credit. Use your garden hose. Spray them off. So we try to be conscious of the environment, and we try to learn from the environment how to deal with the insects. So I read somewhere, it said, the beauty of a hard rainstorm is that it washes the insects off of your plants. And I said, bingo, we're headed in the right direction.
There you go. There you go.
And so you're also known then as the Rain Man.
Right.
You're outside in the rain.
There you go again. Now, what I like to believe that we are, and I teach all people who are gardeners to be keen observers. Be a keen observer. And then when the opportunity presents itself, you respond. And so a week ago, people, we had an excellent weather to put your collards in. But today is not. Collards will wither. You will struggle. You will fight to get them collards to grow when it's 80 degrees.
Right. So do not plant. Let's make sure we give some takeaways here.
Yeah.
Don't not be planting right now today or in 80-degree temperature.
It's supposed to rain next week. Wait till it starts raining. And if it's drizzling a little bit, work out there in the drizzle. It won't hurt you. But your plants, you're going to reduce the amount of shock that they have going into the garden by planting them on a cloudy day. And plant them in the evening if you can. Yeah.
Okay.
He's educated.
So they got 8 hours to say, well, I'm in the garden now. I better start growing.
Okay.
In the next couple of days, they'll pick up. And what you'll need to do as well is put in a little fertilizer, put in a little fish emulsion, and use that, mix it according to direction, and then they will take off over a matter of days.
Would that be Miracle Grow?
No. No. I don't.
You said a bad word.
Yeah, you said a bad word. I do not use Crystal Blue Persuasion. Crystal Blue Persuade. I can't sing either. Crystal Blue Persuasion. No, I don't use that stuff because it's not natural. Now, you know what I'm excited about today? I'm excited that I've got worms coming in almost everywhere in the garden, and we're actually taking scoops of compost with worms in it and putting it underneath the plants. Now, what better green initiative? Yeah, I'm the Jolly Green Giant because I have talked with professors at universities about what deterrents we're using. When you're organic, you use a deterrent. You're not out to, quote unquote, kill every insect that you see.
Right.
Because if you don't know the good guys versus the bad guys,
You kill the good
kill
ones
the
too.
good guys too.
Mhm.
You're wasting your time.
That's so true.
So what we do is we take a wait and see. And when we see an earwig, we don't run and yell and screaming all over the garden. I saw a roach. I saw a roach. No, an earwig is not a roach. But an earwig can get in your house, and it can eat up some of your vegetables. So we'll use the cold water. We'll use BT, Bacillus thuringiensis. I like to say that because it makes me seem important. But I'm not.
Say it one more time.
I was going to say, repeat it.
Say that word one more time.
Bacillus thuringiensis.
Oh, yes.
Bacillus
Bacillus thuringiensis.
It's a bacterium,
Mm-hmm.
and you use it to destroy the worms on your garden. Not the beneficial worms, but that cabbage loper that's coming from that butterfly that's coming through. You'll be able, because it will get in their gut and it will destroy them. They'll eventually stop eating. But see, we like to take people through a routine of spraying with water first, or using wood ashes out of your fireplace.
Wood ashes.
Now,
That's amazing.
Being the organic, well, now I play on what my grandmother, great grandmother, and my mother have taught me. So we use wood ashes because wood ashes, and even I didn't know when I first used them. I said, them collard greens are turning green. What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? And it was a two-pronged attack. The insects, the tiny little insects, don't like to them that those wood ashes are like mountains. Plus, if you put wood ash on your hand, it'll burn you if it gets wet. It'll burn your hand. You'll know that you're in trouble. You'll say, I got to get that off of here. And the insects are doing the same thing. So we discourage them and we feed the plant at the same time. But organic gardening is about discouraging. It's about recognizing you got an insect book that you've got to carry so that you'll know who the good guys and the bad guys are. And you can spot them. One problem, if you're growing squash. If you're growing squash and your squash gets wilted, you're thinking, well, I haven't watered them enough. I need to water. Well, it's too late. It's too late. There's a red and black insect that flies. They come by land, sea, and air. And it flies in and it deposits a worm in the hollow tube of your squash plant. And once it deposits that worm in there, it's lights out because the leaves are going to droop. It's not going to produce squash, and the game's over.
Wow. See, we could go to school. I know, Clarence, you have a question.
Well,
I told you, he was amazing.
Yeah, no,
Well,
and we
I read a lot.
we thank
Full of
you for
knowledge.
the education of gardening, and we're going to get that further. But we're talking about the general sense of farming, and I want to know your opinion. In the 1920s, up until the 1920s, there were 1 million black farmers. In 2021, it was barely 50,000. What happened to the black farmers is it the education? Is it the financial? What made the drastic decrease in the black farming? Are we not interested anymore? Why do you foresee, or do you think what was the cause of the decrease in black farming?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with the industrial nature of our society. That's hard work out there. Who wants to work that hard? The black farmers were underfunded. Number two, so you really scuffle if you don't have a good running tractor and you can't get money to get the repairs. But there's some governmental programs that practice some measures that discourage black farmers. And I actually faced that when I went to a government agency to get a loan for a farm. I wanted to develop in Fort Wayne, Indiana, a diversified farm, meaning that it would have like a mixture of components. It would be like a farm where people could come and visit. It would have a cultural aspect with a cabin on it where it would show where slaves lived and how they worked. I would have somebody that had mules come out and plow. And I did have a guy with horses, Mr. Russell. I think, I'm not sure that he's still alive, but he lived out in Harlan, and he came into town and had a section of my garden plowed with horses once. He was an African-American man, too. So I think it was a matter of funding. It was a matter of younger generation not desiring to face the same troubles that their relatives had faced, and then people sold off their property. It was a matter of some of us not fully understanding the value of the property that we had, and some of it was actually taken for tax reasons. So the Smileys own 140, maybe 180 acres in Alabama, and so that's one of our concerns. Make sure we pay them taxes every year. But there's a new farmer on the block. There's a new farmer on the block, and there's a new willingness to cooperate and to help Black farmers, Hispanic farmers, women farmers, and I hope it prevails. I hope it's just not words, but there are some new farmers on the block. You can call them urban farmers if you want, but there's a back to nature movement, and it's being propelled by organization like Black Lives Matter, and people who understand these high prices at the grocery store. I complain about the high prices myself. So we had a big meeting here in Fort Wayne about 3 weeks ago, and some of the USDA people are Black. They're African American, and I think that will help. And one still has to have a sound program, and still has to know their business. And I think you're going to see an uptick, an increase in the number of Black farmers.
And you spoke, and I want to get in on this because President Biden was just on the news before I came earlier, and he was talking about the food shortage and things like that. The war in the Ukraine is, I think it's the wheat and some other grains,
right?
Things like that. But he was saying that if they can equip and do these things for the farmers in America, it would lessen the price for them to farm. And it would also lessen the price for them to get the produce to the market to be sold. But also is there a problem with not only the food shortage, but I know California and Florida were saying that they had a worker shortage. They didn't have the pickers and things like that. Is that still a factor into why we're seeing this food shortage right now?
I haven't, I'll be honest with you, I haven't researched that very strongly, but I think there are some restrictions in our community and society. We are at times willing to cut our heads off in spite of understanding that the pickers are coming primarily from Mexico, and we're putting restrictions on their coming here, and so they're not as easily available to do the job that they've been doing. I think that's part of the issue.
That
but
makes sense.
but now what you got to recognize though too. I kind of feel for my Hispanic brothers because I've seen pictures of a field being sprayed, and they're right there working in the field, and the airplane comes over and just doses everything with it. But I think to answer your question better, we are living in an age where there's some fear out there. Some people don't want to speak Spanish, but I speak a little. I can give directions in the cafeteria in Spanish and Burmese. And so we say we're a melting pot, but some of our actions don't indicate that.
Exactly.
And so the produce is going unpicked, and that's why some of the prices have gone up. It is going unpicked, and they're having to bury it, and the farmers are having to bury it because they can't get it out of the field. So that's where different kinds of food banks have come in and lifted the problem to a certain degree, I believe.
Wow.
Now, I got a question, Mr. Smiley. Now, are you a part of the National Black Farmers Association?
No, I am not. I'm not part of the National Black. I know what it is. I know what they're trying to do. I have not joined, and that's something that I need to do. Somebody was mentioning that to me the other day. But we have the Smileys have a long history. In fact, when you do your work, your fact checking, you can fact check Smiley Road, Wilcox County, Alabama. There's a road named for the Smileys in Wilcox County, Alabama. So we've been there a long, long, long time. And my cousin Roosevelt was recently deceased. He's been dead about 8 or 9 years, and he just received some money from USDA, which is ridiculous.
Wow.
Is that bad seed money?
What's that?
Is that the bad seed money?
No. This was a totally different program. This was going back to a lawsuit with USDA. I think that's where his money came from. Yeah, this way long before any, and maybe it was black seed money. I'm not sure.
The bad seed.
Yeah.
when they gave the black
Bad seed.
farmers the bad seed on purpose.
Okay, yeah, I'm not up on that. Okay, I'm not- I'll be
Something
honest, I'm
that
not up on
something that I wanted to ask, because I do see, like I said, I've seen you and your family literally go knock on doors to, hand out produce and involve the children. And so I grew up in a super small town near the Amish, about 45 minutes from here, but a totally different world. So the Amish viewed their garden as a way of life. It wasn't a hobby. Their gardens were a community garden. They didn't go to the store. They had salads that were strictly made out of their garden, and it kind of brought their communities together, this garden. So do you ever see anything like that happening here, to where people become so self-sufficient that they literally can shop in their garden, or the neighbors? I mean, do you see that? Because when we talk about it, I'm talking 45 minutes away. It sounds like a different world, but that's the world that I'm from, and the world that still exists there with their culture and gardening.
Well, we called my garden service the Victory Garden after the gardens in World War II. And what you're talking about is literally going to happen right now.
Really?
The stimulus money is gone. So when they had the stimulus money, prior to the stimulus money, people were canning. You couldn't get the materials that you needed to can because they were selling out. People were nervous and they were thinking, well, I'm not going to have enough to eat.
Right.
After all that stimulus money rolled in, they got lazy. Some of them got lazy and they forgot to live like a squirrel. Now, what I'm going to advise everyone to do is go back to your Alabama roots. Now, even if you don't find someone from Alabama, and they can teach you how to survive in this, if you find someone from Alabama. And so what you're going to have to do,
my parents.
My parents.
what you're going to have to do is grow your own in your backyard.
Yeah.
Now, once you get hooked, you'll say, there are times I like my flowers. You can beautify the area. You can make it a sanctuary for yourself and your children and for you solely at times. But you can become independent. You don't have to go in the store and complain like I do. And you don't have to complain about the quality of some of these
Right.
vegetables. I'm thinking, and I've not told anybody this, I've come close. You should be composting that. Don't put that out here.
Shouldn't be on the shelf.
It should not be on the shelf. That should be in a compost pile, brother. So there is a move
Wow.
for independence, and it has to do with your backyard garden. So what we've gotten a swing back. Inflation is high. The prices have all gone up. It's going to be easier to grow your own once you understand what the formula is. They
Sure.
all got to have a plan and a formula. And hopefully you won't use Miracle Grow. You won't do that.
We will never.
Hopefully
Not
you
after
won't
this.
use that. But you will grow naturally. And I like to use the term naturally. And so with growing naturally, the family will make a connection. The youth will make that connection. Some will say, hey, I enjoy this. This is kind of neat. And you just got to lay out the plan. You got to lay out the plan with the insects. You got to lay out the plan with the vegetables. Now, the vegetables are just like you and me. Some plants, if you put too much nitrogen on them, you put nitrogen on leafy, you put them on your collards, you put them on your other leafy vegetables. Don't put nitrogen on your tomatoes. Because if you put a lot of nitrogen on your tomatoes, you're going to have this beautiful plant. Could be about 6 foot tall. But see, in America, we are concerned about having the tallest plant, the biggest tomatoes, and there is a way you can do that naturally by understanding what the plant needs. So if you want to, the pride of most farmers is to get their crop to perform the way at an optimum level. And so the way to get your peppers, bell peppers, to block up California wonders is to put a little mist on them. They're tropical in nature. They're tropical, so you mist them with a little water. You put a little, after the soil warms up, you put a little mulch, and that mulch could be old grass clippings that doesn't have any pesticides in them, and or some other type of material. It could even be soil that you work up around the base of that plant. But back off on the nitrogen, increase the phosphorus and potassium. Phosphorus and potassium makes the plant flower, and it makes it bloom, and it makes it grow bell peppers that look like this.
Wow.
If you back off the phosphorus and the potassium.
See?
But
Wow.
if you're in an urge to use all that nitrogen, my God, I'm gonna have the biggest peppers in the world. Your plant's gonna say no mas.
They're not going to taste good.
Well, they're gonna taste. Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that. I got to check your hands. I think we got a gardener in the making. They're gonna taste different because of the struggle that they're having to grow, because they don't like all that nitrogen. Now, your okra doesn't like a lot of nitrogen either. Anything that's going to bud, that's going to form a fruit or a vegetable on the stem, does not like a lot of nitrogen. Now, I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging, but okra is a plant that can take a drought. Do you know why okra is a drought-resistant plant? Because I discovered it in the garden. I didn't discover it on the internet, but I discovered it in the garden. And so I'm getting ready to tell you something that
You are.
professors do not know.
You are.
I don't know.
Tell
You
it
don't know.
right here live
know.
on Neutral
You
Voices.
heard it here. Listen up.
Okay. One day, I walked out to the garden at Sandy Payton's house, and I said, somebody has watered my okra. I felt like a big dummy. I said, somebody has watered my okra. Well, there was a rainstorm that had come through that I didn't know anything about. And I usually watch the weather every day. I watch the weather. So here's what happens. Okra has the kind of leaves, it's almost like God. It's like God is saying, I want you to live, and I'm going to give you the hands to be
praise.
able to pray to me for survival. So that's what the okra
Right,
does.
that's good.
That's what, it has hands that are cupped. It has fingers and leaves that are cupped. And when I swear that there is a contraction, but I've never been able, maybe with a camera,
Right.
but there's a contraction when that rain pelts that okra, and you know where the water goes? It goes right down the stem and right to the base and right down to the where the roots are. That's where the water
Wow.
goes.
That is so.
Yeah. You know, Mrs. Smiley.
amazing.
Now, for a gardener,
Now, I see.
that's big stuff. Now,
Right.
if a person is into climbing mountains or they want to go out and jet ski, or
Okay.
they
It's
do
not-
those kind of things, it don't mean a thing.
Right.
But for the gardeners, they're wondering, how in the heck did you see that?
See that? Yeah, that's amazing. I like how you put everything and you have a story for it and we can really see it.
Right.
And before we have to get out of here, Clarence, I know you have another question.
I just
you
have
wanted
one
to
quick
ask.
question, and you hit on it. Two things. What is the economic benefit and other benefits that it is that if we became self-sufficient and we organically grew our gardens or our food, what is the economic benefit for our community? Because as you say, we don't have too many places that we can go, that we see people like us that own stores that we can go get these vegetables from. What is the economic benefit of having or growing our own food? Health benefits as well too.
With inflation, inflation, the environment around you is going to spur more people to say, well, I think I can grow that. I'm going to try to grow that. The economic advantage is that you can choose to freeze or you could choose a can and you can store those vegetables away. You know, it's a matter of opening up that can of fresh garden soup in the middle of winter when there's snow on the ground.
Right.
That's therapeutic. And to know that you grew it yourself, but there is a powerful sense of self-worth, self-determination,
Right.
and independence. What you're growing is being grown naturally, and you can grow it better than they grow it. The farmers, some of the farmers are growing.
Wow.
Because you've got 6 or 7 plants that you can baby in your backyard. So that's why I'm on a mission to stop the collard greens from being eaten up. Grab your water hose.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, just grab your water hose and spray them off. And then you got to identify when they're coming through 12 o'clock high.
I feel you.
But
That is so
that
good.
is an excellent question.
Yeah.
That is so good.
By growing, and then, you know, the sheer experience of growing, you meet other growers, you'll start to share vegetables. Your vegetable intake can actually increase
Right.
if you choose to open a forum on the internet out there to share vegetables.
And so speaking of sharing, so this leads to my last question. I don't know if you guys have anything else. But my last question is, so where do you see the future of farming in Fort Wayne? So if we just deal with our little city, and then let me even say, even with Black farmers, do you see an increase coming anywhere, or what do you see the future?
That's a good question. There is an increase in the amount of Black women that are farming.
Farmers.
If
Nice.
you look at some of the CNN portrayals on TV about community gardening, they're being run by Black women. They're being run by women in general, all kinds of women. But there's an uptick in the number of Black women. And so I think they're going back to the roots. They're going back to when Mama was in the kitchen cooking,
Wow.
cooking
Yeah.
right out of the garden.
Cooking right out of
Awesome.
the garden.
Cooking right out of the garden.
That is. And if you don't mind, E, you have anything?
Yes. Where is your garden at?
The garden is located at Fellowship Missionary Church. The members of Fellowship Missionary Church have stood up and said, we want to make something beautiful. We want to make something that is worthwhile. We want to make something to serve our community. So we serve a section of the southeast side, but we serve people from all over the city as far as that goes. And so I know a little Burmese. Minglava, that's hello in Burmese. Nikonla, how are you? But we speak Burmese, and I speak Chamau, Kayandi, and but I also speak Tomotios.
Wow.
I'm the Tomotil man, and so in fact I know some things about tomatillos that even Hispanic people don't know. I know how they spread, how they go all over your garden. They're like a tumbleweed. There's a tumbleweed with seeds inside of it, and the wind blows them all over the garden. So I discovered that one day. I said, how are these plants doing this? Because I'll pick them from a distant place and put them in a row. I'll grab them all that I see and put them in a row so they can grow there.
Wow.
So I enjoy the garden, but I enjoy teaching people how to garden and then feeding people. You know, if a person is in a wheelchair, it might be a little difficult for them to get to a garden if they're not mobile. And so this year, I'm going to have an initiative to feed as many people as I can that are wheelchair bound or can't get around.
That is so beautiful. See, and that's amazing. And I know you made me, I was so excited. You made me a garden angel. And so I've been walking around feeling angelic all day. I have to be.
Excellent.
Yes. And so I just want to ask you this last thing about the fishing derby. So people know about it. Is it coming again? What's going to happen?
Yes, the fishing derby is going to happen at the Lorez Lebanon Park, and it'll be June 11th. And more information will come out about that.
Okay.
But here's something that I want to say about the fishing derby. Quietly, we have embarked on a journey to have a new pavilion built at that park. Now, the benches that you see, the barbecue grills, the water fountain was all put there by Black Hawk Middle School when I worked there. The principal was a South Sider, and they put those amenities in that park. And so right now we're facing some identification issues. They think that we're fishermen and we're not supporters of the park. They are friends of the park, even though we planted trees in the park, even though we put the benches there, even though we've advocated for the park. You see, we've put a flag there at that park, and they've appointed me the mayor. I'm the mayor of Reservoir Park, Lorez, or Lebanon Park.
Yes.
And so it was a place where we could go when we were young, we were 10, 12 years old, and be accepted. People wouldn't say, why don't you go back to your own neighborhood? So we put a flag there, and we want a pavilion there. And so they're getting ready to have a meeting here, and we're not invited. And so Brother Smiley, Papa's got a brand new bag. So you're going to see me in a different vein. But it's for the future of the youth that are in the community now. And guess what? We've got constituents after 20 years.
Yes.
We've got constituents all over the world.
That's right.
There is a Burmese young man that walked up to me a couple of days ago, and he said, Mr. Smiley, I remember when you took my friends on that fishing trip up to the Boy Scout pond. I remember every detail he told me. And I thought, wow. So there's Hispanic kids. Our president, Mr. Jordan, Willie Jordan, took kids from Geyer when it was predominantly Spanish speaking and took them fishing. So there's youth that walk up to me and I look at them and say, "Aren't you one of Mr. Jordan's youth?" And they'll say, "Well, yeah, we went fishing so and so and so and so." So
Nice.
we're Hispanic, we're Black, we're Caucasian, we're a rainbow
Yes,
coalition,
yes.
and we're getting ready to put it on somebody.
Wow.
Amen.
That
Amen.
is
That is
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love that.
Wow.
the man of the community.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Mr. Ephraim, we could obviously be here all night
We
because
could.
you
We
are
could.
an encyclopedia full of knowledge when it comes to gardening
Yeah.
and now fishing. And so we will be looking for Papa with the brand new bag.
For
Yeah,
sure.
For sure.
Papa's got a
And
brand new bag.
we're going to have Papa back talking
Yes.
about that brand new bag
Yeah.
as that
What I should have
unfolds.
said was what that brand new bag's going to be. We're going to unleash a writing campaign, a positive with a positive message, convincing. They can actually look it up on the internet for a convincing kind of essay that convinces people to take a different stand than they might already be taking. So
Nice.
we're going to increase the knowledge about the park and why we're so steadfast.
Yes.
We're steadfast.
Nice.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
Well,
Amen.
stand fast and hanging with Neutral Voices, and we are glad that you are here with us tonight. So we want to say thank you to Ephraim Smiley for being here. It's been awesome. We have learned a lot.
A
Yes.
lot.
And I
yes.
just want y'all to know I am the new garden angel, so don't hate.
Everybody here, raise your right hand.
Oh.
You're all garden angels.
We are-
You're
are
having
all-
a good time. You're all anointed.
what about our viewers? Can they
Viewers
be-
too. Oh, they can raise their right hand right
Y'all
now.
raise
Hey,
it.
Yeah.
As of
Everybody-
an hour ago, she was using Miracle Grow. She can't be a.
No,
No,
I don't use
She's
it.
changed.
She's changed.
No, I don't garden, but I might now.
We're,
Yes.
we're
So
at
I
Fellowship
just need to
Missionary
know.
Church on Tillman Road.
Fellowship.
And so come pick a bag and then take a bag to a friend that can't come to the garden.
That's
Absolutely.
Amen.
nice.
That's
Did
how you
y'all
do
hear
it.
that? Come
Hey,
take a bag
I think
to
Neutral
someone
Voices
else.
need to go out there and pick a bag and do it. Yeah, I think we
and
should.
go live from the garden.
And go live
I
from
think
the
that would
garden.
be
That's-
awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so y'all have to hang with us
Y'all going to bring tears to my eyes.
again. Yes, we
Yeah,
want to
y'all
say
going to bring tears to my eyes.
it's okay.
You know
We got
what?
tissue.
We got to fix some peas for all of y'all.
Purple Hull.
peas.
Purple Hull peas.
Cornbread.
Peas.
And we won't fry the chicken, we'll bake it.
See, you never know what you might get. We're going to feed you.
Yes.
But this is in depth, and we went deep
Yes, we
tonight
did.
with Ephraim Smiley. Thank you so much for hanging with us, and we will see you tomorrow night for
Don't
the voice
forget
of the people.
to protect
Don't
your
forget
mind.
to always protect your mind.
What it be, what it be, what it really